As we go ahead and jump immediately into draft of Game 2, Machi able to take home the victory in Game 1 against Taipei J-Team. We're able to bounce back after the marathon of a series yesterday up against PSG Talent and open things up on a positive note. Taipei J-Team question now becomes, what do you do to change up your playstyle to try and counter up against Machi, as it appears they have their number. As into draft we go. Zoe and the Syndra banned away from Mission, as well as the Zazir. So they themselves have taken the approach of 3-ban Mission in round 1. Meanwhile, Donesti isn't safe himself, going to get rid of the Galio and the Twisted Fate on the side of Machi.
Yeah, Nesti's presence is enough to open up a lot of jungler picks in the first rotation, and it seems that Machi's sticking to their guns. That means Caitlyn is open for the taking if they do decide to first pick that for themselves, to put that on towards Lil V. Although, we talked about it earlier before this Game 2 started, whether or not, Bruce does play that, maybe never mind. Machi, though, what do they decide to pick on their first rotation? Maybe the jungler, maybe the Graves, since it's open.
All right, so Lil V going to have that Caitlyn. Like you mentioned, though, Graves is open, and for Gemini is going to be his go-to pickup. At the beginning of summer, we kind of crowned Gemini as the best Graves in the region. Looked absolutely amazing on it ever since MSS. Had a little bit of a slump there in the midsection of the season. Bruce, though, once again, just put on Ashe duty once more, and for me, this is getting a little bit concerning. I would like to see Bruce on something else other than just this Ashe on both sides of the map, because it is becoming a bit of a crutch here for Machi in their in their drafts.
Yeah, it's been alternating between the two, Ashe or the Ezreal, and now we're seeing, you asked what changes can be made. J-Team picking up this Morgana could be in the mid lane that Nesti picked up once or twice in the regular season, or it could be on the side of Woody. That's actually pretty good for additional safety, since Machi does like these single target CC. But at the same time, Orianna's open, might as well take the safe route on towards that single traditional mage that Nesti is very comfortable in the mid lane.
I'm interested here. Do we get to see Koala take the Karma? Because in most cases, now that the Orianna is being shown, which I think this Orianna was shown very early, especially when you pair it up with the Morgana, where we have seen Nesti play it before, you need something that can push back this Morgana in lane, or else your lane is just going to get trampled over by this Caitlyn Morgana, and that is where it starts to succeed, and that appears to be the case here, as Machi needs something to answer the push in bot side.
Yeah, really great answer on towards the bottom portions of the map. Just as you mentioned, it answers a lot on the wave clear department, and it will sort of slow down the pace of when Lil V is able to get a lot of platings at the early phases of the game. And now we're moving towards the secondary rotation of bans. I mean, for J-Team, the secondary question is, what will Hana pick this time? Nidalee is open for the taking. Will Machi try to deny that, as Volibear can be flexed in the jungle as well? Will we see Hana back in, I don't know, Karthus duty? But it would be a little bit of a waste, I suppose, if they do want to sort of propel this Caitlyn pick earlier. Akali, though, being banned still, as Mission can still pick that up as well.
All right, so we see the Akali. Do we also maybe see something like the Lucian being banned out here? Is that something in Mission's kind of repertoire? We'll see if that's going to be the case here. Olaf, though, alongside the Volibear, so really just trying to target Hana, which is fair to see. Still can fall back to the Lilia, but you already have a decent amount of AP on your map, so I'd be shocked if they actually fall back to that. We'll see what the case is going to be. Taipei J-Team, though, what is going to be their final ban? Are you just looking to 5-ban away Mission? And that seems to be the case alongside of this LeBlanc being banned away.
Yeah, it's very difficult because you see the Morgana pick already. We've seen Zoe being picked twice, Mission's fallback, I suppose. I wouldn't really say fallback, but go-to in the mid lane earlier. And it was talking about the Kassadin. We'll finally see the Kassadin. He's only picked it once ever in the summer season. Looking forward to see this pick on towards Mission.
See, for me, this kind of concerns me, though, here for Machi. It kind of becomes a game, kind of what we saw from Taipei J-Team in the last one, where they say, all right, well, we'll pick a LeBlanc, and then we will hope we can blow up the AD carry. But for a Kassadin, trying to blow up the AD carry that's going to be on top of a Lamb's Respite from Hana on this Kindred is going to be rather difficult. So I think Mission may actually be neutralized this game. We'll see, though, what does Machi wish to do for their top lane here for PK, as he is going to be going up against Renekton. You already have plenty of AP threats on the map. Do you want to go for something a little bit more team fight in the form of maybe a cannon? Or are you just going to go with something that's just that beefy front line? And that appears to be the case with the Ornn getting locked in.
Yeah, it definitely makes more sense to put PK on Ornn duty rather than the other squishy setups, I suppose, since they do lack that team fight setup on the side of Machi. So PK is going to be heavily relied on that department, and the rest will be a lot of single target damage NCC on the side of Machi's composition. And J-Team, just as you mentioned, this Kindred is actually a pretty huge pickup. We saw how much the Kindred has been doing a lot of work to deny any sort of assassination kills. Back when PSG Talon picked it up, back when River picked it up. Excited to see this, switch up. Very strong draft towards Taipei J-Team.
So there we are. Taipei J-Team now here in game 2. We said what we were going to change up. Well, 5 bans directed toward the mid lane of Mission. I believe there was 8 mid lane bans total from the draft, as they also were banned out toward an ST. So last one remaining was kind of that Orianna, and Mission goes on to a fallback. We'll see whether or not he's going to be able to scale up and try and find these primary targets. The bot lane, though, of Taipei J-Team, we'll see if they can actually run over Bruce and Koala, who have had a rather rough start to their finals weekend, especially in the series up against PSG Talon. Machi, though, looking to be able to take match point into game 3 if they can find the victory here in game 2 up against Taipei J-Team, as we load on into the Rift for our second game of the night.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And back we are, as already. See a little bit of dancing in the river, but nothing too crazy to start things off here, as you really saw from Hana. He really wanted to try and get that ward down, and actually was able to at least put that down toward the river. Just goes back to base, picks up the sweeper as always. We'll likely start to see him on the bot side of the map alongside Lil V and Woody to start things off here on his clear.
Yeah, looking at the composition of J-Team, very strong skirmish, very strong punish, I suppose, when Machi pulls the trigger. But scaling-wise, again, Machi is playing to their strengths once more, and it's incredibly scary once Mission, again, spins out of control. We've seen Cassidans back in spring that have, again, one of these things where it's very incredibly hard to shut down once the later stages of the game progresses. And when it comes to frontline, J-Team doesn't really have, so they're going to have to bank on having to pull the trigger first, hope that they can burst someone down immediately, and that's definitely the play of the game.
I even got to see there new Kindred skin coming out, but maybe Hana just having some fun here with his unlocked account. But yeah, I think especially coming out early, this early game, if Koala and Bruce are able to step up, it's very nice to see. Especially, we were talking to a couple, actually, of some of the pro players that we've been interacting with, especially when we were doing the Singapore promo relegation stream earlier this week. We were talking to some of the coaching staff over on Resurgence, and they say the early game of the Caitlyn, a lot of people aren't taking traps on level 1 and not going for that bind combo. Instead, they lose all this pressure, especially when they're going up against the Karma, and we're already starting to see that here in the bot lane.
Yeah, getting poked out very early, don't have actually a source of sustain to work with, therefore unable to get that early lead, just as you mentioned, that trap bind combo that could possibly chunk a huge amount towards, again, you're up against a Karma, not exactly, one of the squishiest support champions in the book, and therefore can still sort of capitalize on, and I think that's the reason why J-Team is going to be having a hard time, especially when it comes to trading. You still have that shield over towards that Karma, but we'll see whether or not Gemini makes his first visit. Guess that's a no.
Instead, though, Hana just wants to go for that invade, maybe looking for a weird path here. Was hoping that the Raptors would have been available, but instead this now kind of streams, all right, Gemini is going to be on my bot side of the map. He's taking my Raptors right now. Instead, let's see if we can try and go for a play on this top side, as PK is on that Ornn, but look how far back PK is playing at this point. He has an idea that, you know what, Gemini, he's not on my side of the map. Hana, though, gets lucky on the 50-50 for the scuttle spawn and is able to get one for his mark. Meanwhile, bot lane, though, that's a lot of aggression coming out here from the side of Machi as they're looking for possibly a dive.
It is possible. There's a lot of damage output.
Woody gets himself back to safety. Bruce able to finish off the kill, though, and that's going to be first blood going back over to Machi once again in game 2.
And that is only one summoner used on towards Bruce. That is an amazing trade because Gemini still has his flash. Woody, unfortunately, doesn't have heal anymore. So that's a huge early win on the side of Machi that they'll be happy to take. Look at Lil V's HP is really down towards lethal if Gemini decides to just, you know, visit again.
And that's kind of the power of having this Karma in your early game, is you're able to just get this massive amount of poke. Gemini, rather confident. It can be very scary diving underneath a tower with a Graves early, but luckily Woody, he ends up just walking in the one place he can for Gemini to actually be successful. As we see maybe a play coming out here from Hana early, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen as PK is just happy underneath tower.
Exactly, and when we go back to the bottom side of the map, Machi, again, will be happy about sort of copy-pasting that sort of strategy set up for a potential dive against from Gemini. And the fact that this happened pre-level 6, it just means that Lil V and Woody were just chunked out so low, Gemini is prepared for that dive.
Take a look here toward the mid lane, though. Mission not having as an easy time, you could say, at the very least, until he starts getting some levels here on the Kassadin, as Nesty just has that range advantage for the meanwhile. He's starting to lose out a little bit of some of the CS as it crashes into the tower. Koala, though, maybe looking for a play here. Instead, Nesty just playing patiently, saying, I'm on the control mage this time around. I don't need to try and force anything underneath the tower. He should be just fine.
Yeah, I think that is the awkward part for Gemini if they do want to play the gank certain lanes kind of deal, considering that they lack the utility to hold people down to make a gank more successful, if you will. That's the reason why Machi will be trying to bank on poking people out before anything else.
Goes over the wall, meets himself into Gemini. Mission, though, level 6. Same with Nesty, so Shockwave was available. And both teams kind of realize, I'm not really in the mood to take that 50-50. PK, though, up in the top lane, pops the ultimate, ends up missing, though.
No!
And Rest gets his dominance right off the minion wave, and PK gonna get taken down. Rest over the wall, able to get the flash. And there you are, Rest is able to find himself a solo kill in the top lane.
Did Rest time his stun on towards PK to not get that secondary knockup? I guess that worked out in Rest's favor, and that is a solo kill too, with 2 flashes exchanged, and not even needing the assistance of his own jungler to make that work, and that's going to be pretty scary.
No, PK just misses the activation.
He dashed,
He didn't even get stunned, so that's what he's going to want to get back. He tried to go for that thick wall dive. Oh, meaning dives. That's actually Lil V going to get taken down. That's not what you want to see.
Koala?
In comes Nesty with the teleport. Koala, though, gets himself back to safety. Gemini, though, is caught out into the jungle, and that will give a stack over to Hana as well as the kill to the Kindred.
Very nice play coming from J-Team to be able to exchange that at least. Is able to get Hana ahead, just as you mentioned, on towards the Kindred stacks. And that is, I suppose, a little bit unfortunate. Again, Machi really wanted to force these pre-level 6 ganks or dives at the bottom side of the map. But unfortunately, J-Team already saw this coming, is able to make it a 1-for-1 exchange at least.
We see here, it looked kind of promising, but they just weren't able to get that combo off onto Koala. And at this point, again, that Karma poke is just massive. And poor Lil V can't do anything when Gemini's here.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that Koala, or rather Gemini, had an awkward path. Of course, he had to dive, so it was much easier for J-Team to sandwich and collapse. And therefore, he doesn't have any sort of Thresh Lantern to get him back in towards a safe position. But now, at least J-Team is able to equalize the kill score, but Machi's still in the lead. Oh my word, Lil V!
Bruce already used his arrow, but now Lil V once again right off the recall. Mission's also coming nearby, and where do you want to give this kill? Give it to Bruce or give it to Mission? Your choice here, Lil V. Unfortunately, I don't think either one is good, as Bruce finds himself the kill. Now, Mission, though, gets himself caught out, trying to go for that 1v1, but Hana gets himself another stack on this Kindred, and the second kill as well.
very interesting path to retreat coming from Mission. Instead of moving forward to join, Bruce and Koala, he moved to the opposite side of the lane. Again, going back. This happened to Gemini too. If you go to the opposite direction, it's an easier collapse for J-Team to do. And since it's still that early level towards the Kassadin ult, you don't have as much mobility towards this earlier portions of the game.
So, for Taipei J-Team, I think there's kind of been a silver lining here. Unfortunately, the Caitlyn has been shut down, but you get a Kindred 2 stacks before, I believe, 10 minutes, and he also got the first stack of a Scuttle. Hana's sitting at a very comfortable tempo when it comes to this Kindred. You want to try and hit 4 by 20? Well, he might hit that before 15 minutes. And then there's plays like this where I think Mission, I like his idea, but unfortunately, he's gone for a roam and it ends up costing him.
Yeah, I mean, he ulted backwards to avoid the binding, but unfortunately, it put him in a more awkward position. But yeah, at least they're able to shut down Lil V's Caitlyn. But on the other side of the spectrum, you've got Hana, that secondary AD carry that J-Team can rely on to get ahead for this team. And now at least they're able to get Rift Herald. But for Machi, Bruce is ahead at least. It's a different scenario where earlier it was quite even between the two AD carries, and now he's ahead.
You see this bot lane again, just getting hard poke in. Lil V not having a good time. Bruce also getting turret plates in a matchup that, again, we talk about usually Caitlyn needs to be the one getting these turret plates. Bruce forced to cleanse, not respecting the Morgana bind as much as he should. So won't have that, but still has a 30 CS lead because of this just massive advantage that has taken form.
Yeah, can spam that W, that volley on towards the Ashe. And again, the shield, the movement speed makes the binding much harder to land and try to punish Bruce in his aggressive lane at the moment. And it's a little bit of familiar scenario. Topside though.
PK, he's trying to clear out this wave as fast as possible, but it is a cannon minion. Luckily for him, Hana decided, all right, let's not actually try this, but gonna pop Shelly, and that will also get some turret plating onto Rest. But
side?
Again, that Kindred show top side. Gemini's gonna look for a dive once more in the bot lane and gets that tower to about half health. We'll see whether or not they can actually race it, but it looks like Machi will get first brick tower as PK is able to get rid of the Rift Herald as well.
That's gonna be additional gold in towards Machi's pockets. And unfortunately for the usual Caitlyn plays that we see.
Again, Engage comes out a little bit late on the Black Shield, but there's your combo finally coming through. It will be a trade, though, 1-for-1 as Koala able to tag down the Morgana before the end of the trade. But Lil V finally getting a kill here on this Caitlyn, but still massive disadvantage without a lane.
Yeah, massively behind. Meanwhile, though, in the mid lane, Mission is able to scare off Nesty a little bit at least. But yeah, I think that's a huge difference to the usual Caitlyn's that go extremely out of control. This time though, at least LV is able to get a shutdown gold on towards Bruce. So that's a consolation prize, I suppose, because the usual Caitlyn's that we see get the turret plating here, move towards top side, farm the turret plating there. But unfortunately, that will go towards Rest instead, and Hana instead earlier, which is still a pretty good win.
You do see, I like Koala here. He says, all right, first back, first item. Now we're getting Crucible because Bruce keeps getting caught out. Look at this, though. Koala, though, might be the one getting caught out. Bruce able to flash away from the Shockwave. Hana looking for that dive, and Hana is huge on this Kindred, now finding his third kill of the game.
Very nicely done by J-Team, and they seem unfazed, even though a lot of Machi's resources was poured heavily on the bottom side of the map to shut down Lil V. But of course, you have to worry about the upper portion of the map. You have to worry about Hana, just as you mentioned, already gathered 3 kills. Even though Nesty sort of missed out on towards that Shockwave earlier, it is still a pretty good win because Hana is able to get another kill.
So now Hana sitting on 3 kills on this Kindred. Also has that Warrior Enchant already completed before 12.5 minutes, and Berserker Greaves too. It's going to start becoming a bit of a problem here for Machi, considering the fact that you take a look here, Machi don't necessarily have all that much range outside of this Ashe and a little bit of poke from the Karma. It's kind of a field day for this Kindred as long as she doesn't get bursted.
Yeah, a field day for the Kindred, a field day for Rest as well on this Renekton. Very easy to get more on his, I suppose, Fury stacks. But Machi might consider to dive rest, but he feels that yes, his spider sense is tingling as the rest of Machi trying to scour for other portions of the map to take advantage of.
You see, though, Hana is spotted out on a ward, so let's see, are they setting up the play here? Checking into the brush, the sweeper is there, but you do see plenty of pings coming out here from Machi. Maybe looking for a collapse. Mission maybe realizing, should probably back off. As he goes himself all the way back toward that mid lane, at least trying to keep pressure down toward Nesty, as he has picked up his Rose, starting to look to stack that up on the Gaston.
Yeah, at least Machi is able to get a good foothold on the dragon that is about to spawn in the next 25 seconds. So this, a lot of wave clear coming from the side of Machi in the form of Koal and Bruce, is able to help them even more secure this portion of the map. But this reset might be a good chance for J-Team to take this portion, take this side, and take that away from Machi.
It's a really odd back timing here for Machi. They have advantage through this bot side, but they kind of decided, okay, well, we'll just back right as the dragon is spawning. So this gives a free opening over here to Taipei J-Team, and with 5 members, I don't know if Machi can actually handle that much aggression, and it looks like they just have to concede this. Hawkshot comes out, but they just realize, all right, it's too late. We actually can't go for this play.
Are they going to fight this?
Oh, they're going to try. They want to collapse in onto Mission. That's going to be called a Forge God, though, used immediately. Lil V gets himself back to safety. Hana able to eat up the Crystal Arrow. PK, though, finds himself the double man knockup. Shockwave used immediately, though, back onto the Ornn. Rest able to get out of range of the root from the Karma. Gemini's nearby, but unfortunately, he only has 1 dash. Has the flash, but collateral damage won't be able to do that much. Hana, though, is hunting. Gemini's gonna pop up. You can see that burst that comes out. Lamb's Respite is there. Gemini just looking to finish him off. In comes Koala as well. Over the wall, they can follow through, and there's your ultimate from Gemini, getting the shutdown away from Hana.
Beautiful read from Machi. They were hoping, they were reading that Hana is probably just gonna try to roam the jungle, and they got a pick, and they got it quick. And most of the time you see, okay, some of these teams, after the dragon has been already acquired, they go back, retreat, maybe push a different lane, but Machi pressed that go button. They didn't lose any casualties on their end. Look at Gemini, extremely aggressive, going towards the brush, and the rest of the team from Machi actually moved to a different direction.
Did Mission actually try and go for this? Did he actually just die? Yes, he did.
He died.
All right, Mission. That's not the play there, bud. A little aggressive. That's going to be a death he wants back. That's a feels bad.
Strange call from Machi. I thought the retreat or that... it was very weird coming from Mission. But then again, not extremely uncharacteristic, because that is the tale of Mission sometimes, who die on towards that side lane. But that's not what you want in this series, as J-Team already moving towards the second Rift Herald of the game.
And actually, for something I thought, Machi was pretty happy getting a shutdown. Well, if they get a kill and Mission gets taken off the map once more, that's not half bad. Let's see, though. It's going to be a contest over the Rift Herald. Shelly needs to and back. That's going to be Gemini able to secure it into the 3-man knockup called the Forge God. Bruce already used his ultimate. Now Woody's going to get tracked, though, over toward the side. He gets taken down by that final auto attack. Can't dodge it with the blast cone in Mission. On the hunt, over the wall, flash forward. It's the double man Shockwave, and now Lil V left to his own devices, and Bruce finds himself a triple kill on the Ashe.
Look at the 2 carries tag teaming to pursue the rest of the members coming from J-Team that was hoping to retreat after the Rift Herald getting stolen. Machi very happy for that air quote leash. They're able to secure that, able to knock down another additional tower and possibly an additional charge if they're able to destroy that in time before the Rift Herald falls. And unfortunately, I don't think Rest was present in the entire fight, so it was a 4v5 situation in that Rift Herald.
And you thought Bruce was ahead. Now he's 5 kills in his pocket. That's going to pretty much allow him to be an item and a half ahead of this Caitlyn. And any kind of, mid-game spike kind of gets shut down when you actually have to respect an Ashe on a Caitlyn. And that is a feels bad right there as we take a look back toward the fight.
Definitely feels bad, because Woody was in a very awkward position. He was far away from the rest of the team. And look at this, the 2 carries tag teaming. It ain't going to happen for J-Team's retreat. And the cleanup is there. Bruce providing the slow, Mission providing additional damage, additional chase. And it's a very, very good formula for Machi to win the game if they're this far ahead, if the carries are this far ahead.
Mission, maybe looking to hunt down Hana. And Hana, any kind of advantage this Kindred had, well, now he's down in levels compared to Gemini. Not feeling all that great. Machi, oh, there you go. Shockwave lands into the binding. Instantly, the Black Shield is there. Now Hana too close into the action. Lion's Respite comes out. PK could look for the play, but instead, they actually can't finish off the Kindred as Hana is able to limp away to safety. Collateral damage from Gemini just a little bit too early.
Unfortunately, just as you mentioned, a little bit too early. The range couldn't reach Hana in time, I suppose. But still, on paper, a huge win from earlier on towards Machi's end of things. As you can see, top side already sort of blown out from the two Rift Herald pushes earlier. And now 28 seconds on the clock for the next dragon to spawn. We'll have to see if Machi is going to get first dibs on this area, because earlier it was an awkward back. It was definitely an awkward back. Now Machi had that early reset at least, and now they're walking towards the objective.
So you see here now from Machi. Looking for a little bit of a push here. Dragon is going to spawn. It should be an easy pickup as we do have a Cloud Soul on the map for our second game of the series. It's getting a little bit extra cooldown reduction over to the Ash Arrow, which is also already gone into an Essence Reaver build. So that's going to be very nice to have here for Bruce. Meanwhile, in ST, he's kind of doing his best Mission cosplay. He's gone to a side lane, pushing away here on the Orianna. Not being as punished, but we're not seeing him actually group up with the team, and now Machi looking for a possible second-tier tower.
That is the consolation prize that JT wanted to get, since they've already given up on the third dragon of the game. Might as well push somewhere else, just as you mentioned, Mission cosplay. But for Machi, they're happy with the game state as they're continuing to pressure at the bottom side of the map. And we'll have to see if Machi is able to replicate these 4v5 situations, because again, there were numerous times, maybe once or twice in the game, that Rest wasn't present in these 5v5s.
Yeah, we haven't really seen Rest a whole lot this game. Even this series in general. The Wukong was rather unimpactful during game one. There wasn't a whole lot he could do. And now on a Renekton, well, it's the PCS. It's something we can talk about non-stop with this pick, is that none of our teams play on the top side of the map. The only team that kind of did was Taipei J-Team, but you picked Rest on Renekton, Hana got 3 kills, and then we never saw this Kindred ever make a possible play when he's going up against an Ornn. And now, when you take a look at the gold, sure, Rest has been able to manufacture himself a lot of gold himself, same as Little V, but Bruce is almost at 10K at 21 minutes.
And I think that's the difficult part. It all boils down to Hana wanted to provide resources for Rest at top side, but if Gemini is constantly creating pressure at bot, you are forced to sort of give up that and possibly get that punish kills here and there, but it was a little bit too late because Bruce was way ahead. Look at Koala, extremely aggressive.
Very ahead, Koala wanting to get there. That's going to be a double TP coming out. Rest wants to join in, gets onto the back line, and there you go. There's your axis. It's a 2-man shockwave. Bruce gets taken down. ST finds himself a shutdown. In comes Woody, able to land the binding into the ultimate Mission. Waiting around the side, wants to try and go for a play. Dives in with the Kassadin, is able to find the kill before Hana can bring down the Lamb's Respite. And Machi are able to trade back 1 kill. But that was a messy trade. PK, though, gets taken down. Lil V on the board.
They actually killed PK. He was stuck somewhere nearby the Raptors, and now they don't have a tank. They don't have a front line. This Baron is open for the taking for J-Team.
And Gemini, it's kind of a double-edged sword here. If you can actually steal this one away, it's rather difficult. Rest goes over the wall. Gemini needs to actually get in there. Needs to actually jump in over the wall, but he can't because guess what? This Renekton's running interference. Mission trying to go for the TP. He took down Lil V, going for the 1v3. He's able to take down another member, and that's Hana and Lil V without Baron buff. It's going to be 2 members but a chaotic fight that has brought back Taipei J-Team into this game.
It was such a messy scenario, and it all started in the mid lane where Bruce and Koala was extremely aggressive. They wanted to eliminate Woody and Lil V at that point, but they opened themselves up into a teleport, a double teleport at that. Therefore, access to the backline is much easier. And again, biggest question is, so incredibly aggressive, they're not in the position to do so. We're questioning, where is Rest? Here it is. They're able to eliminate them perfectly. And Bruce, that was a beautiful, beautiful shockwave to eliminate Bruce right off the bat. And I wanted to know how PK died actually earlier.
Okay. Just late from Hana.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So that's...
What?
Oh, there's no real place he can run at this point. All right.
True. I was thinking he could have joined Gemini in the retreat, but I guess he was trying to force J-Team to choose between two targets to chase, and then he was the sacrifice. And unfortunately, it was very hard to steal that Baron if there's a Renekton in your face. Mission at least is able to eliminate two after this, but at the end of the day, J-Team has that Baron buff.
I do note, a double kill for Mission is rather nice. He's actually been able to stack up the row fully to 10 and now looking toward his Seraphs, and 2 levels away from that fabled level 16 Kassadin that a lot of people kind of say is the timer for the pick. So maybe Mission is going to start being able to actually get himself the full burst. It can be difficult when going up against a Morgana, but if the team just plays straight front to back, maybe the option. But do know, we have a Cloud Dragon now starting to spawn in about 2 seconds. Mission looking for a flank engage possibility here from Machi. PK going in for the knockup, able to find one, needs to get over the wall, and you see Rest fully separated from his team as Mission and Gemini pull the trigger and just pressure him out.
And now Rest is actually forced to go back without a teleport. Machi though, do they know this as they see Rest actually?
PK?
Mission 1v1.
PK just gets taken down. Mission going to the 1v1 up against Rest with no dominance. That Renekton loses this trade, and Mission's able to survive.
Mission is able to survive, and Machi seems to be calling for the call list to just try to push mid lane at least to recover more. And since J-Team is already right first head into that Dragon Pit, might as well. That is a very huge pickup to eliminate Rest. But PK actually follows from that exchange as well.
Yeah, PK, unfortunately, his life here as an Or in this game has been pretty much be the sacrificial lamb when it comes to Machi's grand plan. Gets caught out. A lot being used on the Ornn kind of means that Mission and the rest of the team can just hard focus in on Rest. Also to note, though, we do have ornaments coming online, so even though the gold is pretty close to even, you got to count in that gold efficiency on some of those items. And we actually have a decent spike coming through for Bruce as he finishes off his Molten Edge. Let's take a look, though, back on this fight. Lil V able to get that Black Shield in time.
Yeah, great. Nice timing coming from Woody, but the fight is separated. It was a 3v4 situation over a 2v1. As Rest was forced away from his team. Machi is doing a great job having to isolate this Renekton pick, and Mission very brave to enter into this 1v1 situation, especially after one combo, after one cycle from the Renekton. He is going to be left vulnerable, and Mission can just keep spamming and chasing him on.
Well, Baron buff wasn't really able to net a whole lot. In total, is only about 500 gold, and I believe that first tier tower in mid. But outside of that, Machi don't lose a whole lot off the map, but they want to try and regain control, especially if Rest gets caught out. Koala able to find that route. Needs to get himself back to safety, though, as Rest forced to use his flash. Machi just looking to rotate down to the bot side of the map now. And maybe looking for a dive here if J-Team are not careful, especially without dominance being available for Rest, where he can try and trade back in these skirmishes.
Very true, as Machi still on the opposite end has a lot of respect for any shockwave potential play that Nesty is able to set up for J-Team, and therefore cannot risk having to continually siege knowing that the rest of the members are still there. But yeah, we're moving towards the later stages of the game where Machi will be definitely more comfortable. Even when we look at the early game, they were already non-stop aggression, considering that Bruce and Koala was ahead. I think the biggest problem is when we look at J-Team once they acquire the Baron buff, if they don't kill Bruce and Koala, wave clear is going to be very heavily favored, I suppose, to counter that.
Do note there, you see Mission? He's hunted, because guess what he hit? He hit the timer. 16 on this Kassadin. And looking a little bit lethal. Bruce just going to have the ultimate use. Koala a little bit late. You see Woody, Lil V getting hyper-aggressive, and they're just going to get caught out.
Whoa!
Mission able to get that burst. In comes Crystal Arrow from the collateral damage, and Hana again is late on the Lamb's Respite, and it ends up costing them. Shockwave dodged away. Koala has to use his flash. Bruce was nowhere nearby. And ST starting to show hints of this Shockwave only being able to hit it consistently maybe once or twice during the match. And like that, getting the pick off Woody gives a lot of safety over to Machi, and they can look for this Baron.
Yeah, that's 17 seconds on the clock without the Morgana. They will be needing the Black Shield. They'll be needing the binding for that additional setup. That's not going to be available. Another 4v5 situation. J-Team got to worry about Mission's flank.
J-Team going to try. Mission, though, looking to hunt. Rest is seen. Mission now shows himself on the map. 4,000 health back onto the Baron. Rest wants to try and get aggressive. You already see, though, that Renekton getting taken down very low. ST way out of position. He has to get himself back to safety. But look, J-Team, they're on the wrong side of the map. Mission is licking his lips right now because these are squishy members that are going to get blown to pieces by Machi. Baron buff in hand. Minions in mid lane. They're looking for the base.
Yeah, awkward timing. You don't have a lot of wave clear to deal with this push. That's a lot of seconds timers on the death timers on the side of JT. Machi, are they looking to end this?
They can shred through this. They have Baroned up minions. It's going to be about 20 seconds until Nesty and Lil V respond. Woody has to use his Black Shield immediately. Rest going to come off the fountain, ends up popping the Dominus, trying to do what he can, but it's a poor Renekton, and we all know what we say about Renekton. He can't 1v5, and he's going to get turned into a purse once more. Call the Forge God comes out, gets the knockup back onto Woody, but the next is the main course here for Machi, as with that, they're able to take 2 games off Taipei J-Team, and now are looking to secure a world seed in Game 3.
Yeah, 1 win away from securing that world seed. Again, from game number 1 into game number 2, it was such a convincing win. After getting that Baron, able to push J-Team on the opposite end of the map, finishing 3 of the carries coming from J-Team. That's, J-Team unable to defend their base anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you lose that early game that hard as a Caitlyn, it takes a long time to recover. There were instances, though, in Machi kind of get brought into the madness a little bit, especially during these kind of skirmishes in the mid game, that may be a little bit worrying. And we saw Mission, again, sometimes get caught out, but he was able to perform when he needed to, especially during those late game team fights. That, again, Machi look like they're in form here today and are looking very similar to what we saw when they versed J-Team in the first round of playoffs.
Exactly. Again, that first series between these two teams was a 31. And just as you mentioned, even though Mission died twice, it didn't matter because the Kassadin has that scaling fallback and will be unstoppable after having to dive in, having to ult in, and a lot of squishy members, again, on the side of Taipei J-Team.
And Koala gonna go ahead and pick up the MVP, and in lane, I think it was very merited, was able to get himself and Bruce some heavy advantages consistent with the poke coming out from the Karma, was able to shut down that Caitlyn Morgana bot lane, and not a bad start here for Machi in their second series, as now they're up 2 games. We'll see if they can close out this series in Game 3 and lock in their tickets to Worlds 2020.
Yeah, draft so far from the start until finish looks really insanely strong. They seem to have an answer to every single thing, despite that I wrote in my notes that Machi versus J-Team champ pool-wise, I think J-Team has the edge, but they managed to get through that so far in 1 and 2.
And now for Taipei J-Team, I have to ask, what is going to be the change up here? Because I felt like the weak link that we saw in the previous game was Hana, but he was able to actually get himself a couple kills early on. I felt like the team didn't really play around this Kindred getting ahead. We didn't really get to see, Rest get any assistance on that top side of the map. We didn't get to see that Ornn get dove a bunch of times over on the side of PK. So what does this team have to do heading into Game 3 now? Because, again, you're one game away from being knocked out of playoffs and watching the remainder of Season 10 from your home at this point, not making it to the World Championship. Again, Taipei J-Team, they were the #1 seed for the LMS back in Season 9, and we're kind of the only team remaining out of the teams still left in playoffs to be one of those run-back teams making it back to the World Championship. You just have to wonder, what's going on mentally with this team and what can they do to kind of reset?
Exactly. It looks tragic at the moment, especially that they came from a 7th place loss back in the spring season. But we'll see what Game 3 looks like.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, and maybe our final game of the night. Can Machi secure that world seed? We'll have to see, as we'll be back with more action from the PCS.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.